So the first, do you guys know the first most expensive? Yeah, saffron. So,
saffron, yeah.
yep, and they both come from beautiful flowers, which is really sweet. Yeah, so saffron, and then the second most expensive spice is vanilla. So vanilla is an orchid, it grows as a vine, you can see. This shade house is very unique. The owners put trees in here, they put ropes in here. Vanilla just loves to climb, so Vanilla's climbing on the ropes, climbing on the trees, climbing on each other, everything. So, vanilla is very unique that it actually has two different root systems. So wrap around each other, wrap around the ropes. I can't find an example right now, but yeah, you can see like this one right here wrapping around the rope. And then it also has grounding roots. Yeah, so these bigger ones. So when it needs more nutrients, it's gonna send those down. This shade house has probably the most grounding roots because the vanilla is not on our nutrient sources. So these are our tutors, they're our nutrient sources. So you have like mac nuts, lava rocks, orchid bark, slow release fertilizer, that kind of thing.
Do they go in the ground, or do you put the food in
All the nutrients, just fill it up from the top. And then we put the new plants on the nutrient source. So they've the nutrient source directly to it's available to them directly. And then the vanilla ends up kind of moving away in this house, you can see. The other shade houses, if you guys want to walk through those, you'll see that
So you're not putting like fertilizer in those, it's just because you're getting it out of the nuts and things, right?
So we have slow release fertilizer, and then every week I spray fish emulsion. So last year I sprayed fish emulsion every week. Real stinky on Mondays, but because the vanilla gets their nutrients also from the leaves. So I'll do that. So we're calling them the big kahuna beans, which is really fun. So we were getting massive beans, and I think it's because they were getting enough nutrients that they weren't producing the small scrawny beans. They were able to put all their nutrients towards the larger beans in Madagascar. So when they're in here, I'm like, oh, it's home for you.
Invasive species?
Yeah, they were introduced. Yeah,
of course.
Yep, of course.
Like everything in Hawaii seems to be.
Yeah, it is.
Can I ask a dumb question? I see these are turning brown. Like I don't know where the development cycle things are. Are they like you talked about those 9-inch vanilla beans? Are there any of the buddings here, or how does that work?
No, good question. So right now we're in flower season.
Okay.
We just got out of harvest season. I don't have any beans from last season on the vine.
Okay.
But when we're in flower season, we have to hand pollinate vanilla here because we don't have natural pollinators that can do that for us. We have natural pollinators, but not small enough to do that for us.
Okay.
The only natural pollinators for vanilla are in Mexico, where vanilla is native. So that's the only place we're gonna find them.
Is it like bees and those kind of things?
Yeah. There's like a green orchid bee, and there's the Melipoa bee, and then there's like small insects that'll do it. I did have an ant do it for me once, but it's not very effective.
Count on it.
Yeah, not very effective. It's more effective if I hand
Were you
pollinate.
trying to get ants to do it?
No, I wasn't.
You
It
just got lucky?
just happened. Yeah.
How do you know it was an ant then?
So in the back we have like rows of, they're called jatropha trees. It's just a row of trees back there, and we have wild vanilla growing on it. And so I'm the farm manager, so this is my responsibility.
We figured that out from what you're talking about.
Honestly, I just like forget about those vines a little bit, and they're on their own. This is kind of the experiment too.
Yeah.
So a bud appeared, and I didn't realize, and a flower bloomed in the morning. And the next day I went back there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I missed the flower, but I saw that it was pollinated. So I'll kind of get into that. But I realized that it's because there were ants everywhere. So they must have been able to kind of, they were able to get the pollen where it needed to be.
So within one day you have to catch it and pollinate it within the day?
Yeah, so have you guys ever grown orchids before?
Yeah.
Yes, not successfully.
No problem. That's typically the answer. So orchids live, like the flower bloom, it's open for a very long time, like months even. I don't know, I've never attempted because I feel like I would kill it. But not these. So they typically are open for a long time. Vanilla orchids open once in their lifetime, and then they'll wilt and die, and they're only open for about 4 hours. Wow. So you guys came up there, you can see they're already starting to close. Around noontime they're already closed, and they're fallen. So what you were saying,
this didn't exist yesterday?
No, it was just like this. So that's gonna open tomorrow, that bud.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't go ahead, tell more.
No,
Your system, go.
So so I get 4 hours, so I'm up very early. which is not, I'm not like a super morning person, so it's a stretch for me. And I have to hand pollinate. So the hand pollination technique was actually found in 1842 by a 12-year-old boy. Amazing. How old are you? 9? Very close. You could have founded hand pollination technique. So Edmund Albius, he probably didn't get credit back then, so we give him like all the credit now. I'm sure the botanists were like, no, it was me. So he's the one that figured out this hand pollination technique. So all we're doing, actually this is a better picture. Vanilla has both male and female parts. The only thing that's blocking it from self-pollinating is like a tissue in between them. So all I'm doing with the toothpick is just lifting that tissue up and then pushing the male to the female part. So this is the male part with the pollen, and this is the female part down here, that like white line. So I'm just gonna push it in, kind of rub it around to make sure that the pollen really gets in there. And then that's it. Takes me maybe 3 seconds each flower. So it's very quick.
So it's pollinating itself.
It's pollinating itself, yes.
So
I'm just helping it out a
if
little
there
bit.
were bugs, they'd be moving it from one to the other, and
Yep.
you get more variety, perhaps.
Yeah, or even just from the same flower. Like
Right,
if they were
okay.
able to take the pollen from the same flower and move it around, perfect.
Once
If
your
they were
toothpick
kind of
was
moving
covered,
around.
you could have gone and done 3 more or something.
Yeah. So after this, Vanilla will pretty much tell me like right away if I was successful, like the next day. So that feels like very, good feedback.
Yeah.
So I'll know, you can see the flower bud just fell. I don't even know where that fell from. So if the flower stays on the stalk, like this,
Yeah.
then I know I was successful, and this is now swelling into a vanilla bean.
Oh, that's the part that becomes the bean. Okay.
So that's the plant's ovaries.
Okay.
So that's now swelling into the vanilla bean, and it's gonna grow for 9 months. After those 9 months, then we can pick them. Same as flowers though, we pollinate one at a time. We're gonna pick those beans one at a time.
And they keep getting bigger.
They're gonna keep getting bigger.
So
Yeah.
like, okay, so this one looks huge. That's looks way smaller, but it might get bigger.
So that flower you just pointed
the
to
big,
was probably the smaller
the
ones.
taller,
So
yeah, up the top, yeah.
those are probably pollinated like 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Versus this, which was like yesterday. No.
No,
Long.
like this one.
The dried one.
That dried one was probably last week. So they grow pretty quickly.
Sounds like a rapid,
This was probably a month ago. You can see how big they are here. And those are probably, like this one's probably an extra large. These ones are probably largest, like the rest.
It was a month ago, and in a month it grew that long.
Just in a month. Yeah.
Wow.
So now what we're
Impressive.
looking for,
Lots of monkeys.
yeah, we have them all over, which is really fun. And we're not even at peak season. I predict that May is going to be our peak, where we're going to have like just the most. Yes.
Okay.
So that's about a month. Still has 8 more months to mature and fully develop. So when it's ripe, it's going to turn a little bit yellow at the end,
Okay.
and that's lets us know that it's ripe, and also lets us know that the vanillin content in the seeds is at its best, like the highest. So that's when we're going to pick it, because we want the most vanilla out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's what we get. Year-long curing process in order to get that smell out. Do you guys want to go see the dried beans? We have some left over. Or any kind of illicit bean. Smell is also an indication, but it's
I usually just use the extract. It probably comes from all the crud you couldn't sell as individual beans.
so our extract is made from smalls and mediums.
That makes sense.
Still have great
All the
smell,
flavors and
everything you
tastes,
need.
yeah.
They're or like our curvy beans.
They
So
didn't
it's
fit.
it's whatever we couldn't sell as our like A+ best greatest looking bean is made with extract, but it's still a wonderful flavor.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind
Just
of
like
those,
Sorry, I have something here.
with the carrots when they used to, we always wanted the big, beautiful
Uh-huh.
certain shape, and now it's like all little bits and ends and whatever. Those
Yeah.
taste amazing.
So you can see like this bean looks great. It's just too small to sell as is, so it'd be an extract bean.
Okay.
Like the rest of them, this is kind of a weird mixed bag. I don't typically do that, but so like this one, once it dries out, is gonna be a real nice looking bean. It has no split to it. So it's,
Are you
What are the liquid in?
soaking in something?
yeah, sorry. Let me explain this process. So I'm like jumping ahead.
No, it's good.
I'm going to kind of organize them, sort them into like the small, medium, large, extra large. Then I'm going to take those bundles and I'm going to stop. I want to stop the ripening process because now that they're picked off the vine, I have a short amount of time that they're going to start to rot. So to stop that, it's called killing the bean or like blanching. I'm going to fill that water vat with 150-degree water, put the beans in there for 3 minutes, and kill it off basically. Then I'm going to take the beans out, dry them off, and wrap them in 100% wool. Vanilla's bougie, she likes her 100% wool. It just keeps that heat in. That's all we're looking for. So we want the beans to stay warm for 2 days in order to get a color change from them. So once we wrap them in wool, we're going to put them in a cooler with like heating pads, you know, for like your sore back. And that's like the hot box process. So they're going to sit in there for 2 days. They're going to change from that green color we saw out there to this brown color. So after that, we're going to take the beans out, put them in Ziploc bags, and this process is called sweating the bean. So we're taking, what we're looking for is we want a chemical reaction to happen. So we're putting them in plastic bags, using the sun, letting them sweat for 21 days for about 4 hours. Kind of depends on the size of the bean.
Only 4 hours a day?
4 hours a day. Then we're gonna kind of store them, let them stay warm for the rest of the time. What I like to do is do 4 hours sweating in the sun and then like around 4 hours drying out, just out of their bags, laying out in the sun. I don't like them to be stored in their bags wet.
Seems
You
like
could have any
things
kind of
could
mold
grow.
problems. Yeah, exactly. So I like to let it dry out. Then I'm gonna put them in the cooler and let them rest. So in this process, we're looking for 2 main goals. I want them to sweat out 50% of their moisture. So you're probably gonna see, it's kind of wimpy today. You're gonna see that brown liquid. And then I also want a chemical reaction where glucose and vanillin, the vanilla aroma, is actually getting split. So because they're splitting apart, that's when we're finally gonna get that vanilla smell. Sometimes we get sugar crystals on the outside, which is pretty neat. But this, I think, is the most important step. So we wanna do this correctly in order to get all of the vanilla out. After it's dropped down to 50%, I can track it by just looking at it, or by the number of days it's been sweating, or by weight, because I track everything by weight. After that, we're gonna take the beans, we're gonna put them in this humidor. So they're laying out on racks in this humidor, and this is a controlled environment, but honestly, all I'm looking for is I want it to dry out really slowly. That is the only reason why I would mess with that if it's drying out too quickly. So I want them to dry out for like 4 to 6 weeks, like a really long time. In there, what I'm looking for are a few characteristics. I want them to be, like have a nice oily shine on the outside, like a greasy bean, kind of what I'm looking for. I want them to drop down to 25 to 30% their original like moisture content. I want them to be flexible enough I can wrap them around my finger. And then I want them to change from like, I'll show you, it's like a brown to like a dark brown color. So let's look at them and smell them. It smells amazing. I gotta shift it around.
Oh, you can
So you can see, like, I'm really good. Here, right here. So this is like, you're like, oh, that's dark brown. But then when you compare it to this
touch it?
bean, no. I have to wear a full gear. So this is like dark brown, and then you can see this changes into like dark brown.
Yeah.
You see
And
that?
it is a little bit thinner
Blackish.
too.
Mhm.
This one is more dried out than this one.
Yep, a little bit more wrinkly, and then you can see that it has like a nice oily shine to it.
Right.
So that's what we're looking for.
And you can start to feel some aroma as well coming in.
Yeah.
You've got some that are very small looking up there. What's
So this
going
is
on
our extract byproduct.
there? Okay.
So we don't want any beans to go to waste because there's so much flavor in them. Like you can just keep reusing them.
that's
So
great.
after extract, we're gonna take those beans out, dry them out. We like to dry them here so we have that really yummy smell all the time. And just use a blender and grind them up into like a vanilla powder. So that vanilla powder we're making, we're putting in our ice cream, which you should definitely try the ice cream. It's really good.
Okay.
And then our grinders, our meat rubs, our body products. When you rub that
makes
lotion on, you saw that there were
Small
chunks
pieces
in there.
of,
Yeah, it was that.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole process. After this, I'm going to take the beans and I vacuum seal them and let them do what I call like a corn. beans, cut them up like this, and then put them in any alcohol of our choice. So we really like vodka for extract. We're not crazy here. So we're gonna fill 1 pound of vanilla per 1 gallon of alcohol and let that sit for 6 months. At that point, after the 6 months, we can extract that alcohol out, just take it out, and that's our extract.
Do you sell the alcohol? Because that could probably taste really strong.
So the alcohol, what it's doing is you need 70 to 80% proof alcohol. And
all
with
you're
that,
doing is taking the alcohol, actually. That's the
yep,
product.
that's it. Yep.
Okay, my bad.
So no, you're good. I kind of explained that a little weird.
No, you're good.
So when it's sitting there, it's actually extracting all of that flavor from the beans and from the
So you
seeds, because that's
throw
where the
out the
most is.
resulting, the grains probably go away or something, or used. Oh, I get that.
So
that is that.
yeah, so when you
Okay.
want that. Like when I make my extract, I shake it up as much as I can before I dump whatever I want out, because all of the flavors in those seeds. So I really want those. Yeah. So if you
Oh, I
use
see,
ours,
yeah.
you'll probably see some of those seeds
Bits
in
and
there.
pieces.
That's
Nice.
good.
So
Good
are you
stuff.
saying the vanilla extract is always have alcohol in it?
Yep.
Or we don't need that?
Any extract, like
All
peppermint extract,
That's how you make it.
whatever extract there is. That's the only one that came to mind. Yeah, that's all gonna be alcohol, but once you cook with it, it burns off.
Oh,
So
okay.
all that's left is the flavor. So that's why we sell do-it-yourself extract kits. We want people to play around with different alcohol. Vodka isn't going to influence the flavor of the extract. It's going to burn off and all that's left is the vanilla. If you use like bourbon or spiced rum, some of that flavor is going to be left behind after you burn it off, which is
Again,
great.
it makes sense.
Yeah. So if you don't like those, don't use those. But like some people that like that flavoring, it's kind of
Well,
nice.
that's a new information for me.
Yeah.
Process of learn
Now, and we can put that on the tutor to grow a new vine. Yep. So from that new vine, it's going to take 3 to 5 years to actually produce a flower, which then we get a bean. So from planting till we can hold a bean in our hand is going to be like 5 years. Yeah, because this whole process takes about a year. So very long time.
How large is your farm? I saw some.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe you don't get a lot of product. Is that like 2 years worth of growth we just saw there?
No, so that is the very tail end of our season. Yeah. So we typically get about like 15 to 30,000 beans a year.
Okay.
So that's, I don't know what pounds.
Yeah,
Typically
it's-
people want pounds. I do not have that memorized.
I don't even know what 15 to 30,000 really.
I can't even
idea,
imagine
right?
that.
I
I
don't know.
totally get it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we slowly kind of filter throughout the season. So this is always full of something. Just kind of depends. So this isn't at max.
No, it doesn't look like it. Yeah, you got the shelves empty.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, very. And you can see typically those bags and the beans covering. I run out of room, and I actually have to use that back area. There's some racks back there to sweat them. 'Cause
So you're sweating in the sun, but you have quite a shaded thing. Like I was almost expecting, like I don't know,
More?
somehow
So,
with more
yeah.
sunlight.
that's why I like to use. So these are the owner. He actually grew tree saplings. He grew like 15 million to take over the sugarcane fields. So after he did that, that's when he started doing the vanilla farm as like another product. So we actually use these racks to grow the tree saplings. So I now use those racks to sweat and dry out the beans.